You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
And welcome to a Sunday morning with me, your friend, Michael Lodge. I'm always happy when I'm able to come on. Hey, first of all, did you get your cup of coffee? Is your cup of coffee ready to go? It's the most important thing when you come to my podcast is that you have your coffee ready. I'll let you get some time to go get a cup of coffee. Make it good, because mine's good. The only way we can have a good conversation is by sitting down here and having a cup of coffee. That's all that we need. I am looking outside and we've got some big old clouds coming in. We're supposed to get some rain Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which is okay because we really need it. Honestly, here in Florida, we have had very little rain. I mean, we had a little bit of rain last weekend, but it was only like just for a few hours. Normally, we have had rain since I've lived here anyway. We've had rain consistently, a little bit on and off throughout the day. But for some reason it changed and it has been beautiful weather. I mean, it is nice. I mean, yesterday it was 90, no humidity. Very seldom does that happen. It was beautiful. I tell you, I could sit outside, not sweat. I mean, sometimes when you're here in South Florida, you get this humidity, and that's what causes all of the uncomfortableness of sitting outside because you're sweating all the time. But yesterday and today, it's very, very beautiful. Let's see if we get some storms coming in. Let's see if the weatherman's right. You got your coffee yet? Because I'm ready to go. So I wanted to talk about words. W-O-R-D-S. I've noticed in the time that I've been doing mediation and sitting down with people, business is different. Business, it's totally business terms. But when I'm doing family mediation, I'm finding that people do not really focus on the words that they're using. Because why? Because they're filled with anger. They're filled with this distrust. They're filled with hurt feelings. They're filled with a whole bunch of human emotions. So the way that they lash out at the other individual is through words. I mean, it comes out, and it comes out in a torrent. And pretty soon you have people sitting there saying, I don't want to deal with this individual anymore because they're nuts. So sit back and think about the time that you were angry at somebody. Did you hold back your words? Did you really focus on the words that you wanted to say? Or did you just spout out words and most of the words were hateful words? I think all of us have done it. I used to be the type of individual that lost my temper very quickly. And the words would come out. But now, I must say, though, that when I was spouting out my nonsense, my nonsense was an argument for doing something that was right. You see, when you're in business, a lot of times you have a yin and a yang. One person is the good person, another person is the individual who does something totally different. The difference, the opposites. And sometimes I would just get so mad that I tell you words just came out. And I will admit that they were not very nice words. Only because I was dealing with that human emotion of anger. And anger turns on these words that you never would even use in a normal conversation with a friend. I think I've gotten to the point where I hate hateful words. I hate hateful words. because they do so much damage. These are the words that are spouted out, and you can never take them back. You can't say, okay, I'm sorry for using that word. I should never have used that word. Because that word's now stuck in the other person's mind because you just called them some kind of a name. You used a hateful word to describe them. And you see that a lot in people who are truly, truly hateful. They just hate everybody. They hate everything. They are disgusted with their life. They don't want anybody else to be happy. So what do? They lash out in words. I think that you and I have got to really focus on what we say. Before we even speak, we should be thinking. When somebody asks us a question and we have to respond, and we know that it's going to be an emotional, hateful response, we have got to stop and we have got to think and we have got to say what will correct the issue and not enhance the issue. Because so many times our words make the situation worse. I've seen it so many times, especially in family mediation. When one person is angry at the other person's angry at their former spouse, and the hate is just there, and trying to get things done slows down. It's slowed down because individuals want to continue hating. And so the words of blame, the words of nonsense, the words of hate, the words of anger, they all come spilling out. Because as a mediator, it's my responsibility to keep them focused. And maybe even to give them guidance on the communication process. But the words that we use, I tell you, they can uplift, they can be honey, they can let's see, what is I was looking at the Bible this morning, and if you ever want to get some really true good knowledge, you go to Proverbs. Proverbs 15:4 says, "Gentle words brings life and health. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit." Well, a deceitful tongue is what destroys relationships. A deceitful tongue is the one that spouts out anger. A deceitful tongue is the one that doesn't care how you feel because she or he is going to hurt you no matter what. Because they are just full of anger and hate. They're not willing to sit down and talk about the issue. Instead, they want to just pound the other person just one more time. Just one last time. We're in mediation now. Let's just pound each other one last time. And that accomplishes nothing. That's why sometimes I have to separate them and talk with them individually because we have to control the words. The amount of words that's going back and forth is just too much, and it's overbearing. It's overweight. And then the other person has to come back and respond with a bunch of words too. And the conversation never gets around to what the true issue is or what the focus needs to be on. I have been called a lot of names in my lifetime. And I am old. I'm telling you, every time I do my podcast, I have to tell you that I'm old. Well, I'm old. I am old and worn out. No, I'm not worn out yet, but I am old. But I have seen so many different situations where individuals just could not focus on the words that they wanted to say without using words of hate, words of destruction. I have seen individuals who want to write a whole book of anger to send to another individual through a text, through an email. And they're unwilling to sit down and say, okay, my communication process just is not working. I'm spewing so much hate that I'm not getting anything done. And they just continue to do it. And they do it to not just the individual they're mad at, but they're also taking it out on the individuals around them. The children feel it. The parents feel it. The friends feel it. Their work associates feel it. They feel this hate because they have so much hate for one individual that all their words is just filled with hate, and they call them all kinds of names. And then that same feeling, that same aura, if you want to call it an aura, is all around them. And pretty soon everybody's engulfed in this individual's hate. And then every time they look at another individual, or they want to deal with another individual on another subject, all of this hate for this other person comes zooming around and goes attached to that new person they're talking to. Hate is a terrible situation. That's why you have got to control the language of hate. Politicians have got to control the language of hate. I saw Maxine Waters out over this weekend trying to say words of hate and trying to rile up the crowds to get out there and take over the streets, do damage, fight. This is an individual who is filled with hate. There's nothing of love about this individual. If you are willing to go out there and create anger within the community and create more hate and create more violence, you are not an individual who focuses on their words and trying to unify, trying to bring peace, calm to a community. You are an individual that should not be trusted. If you cannot control your words, you should not be trusted. Even in relationships, if that individual cannot control their words, control their emotions, control their anger, that is an individual you have to be very careful of. If it is a pattern, you've got to walk away. Because that individual is going to do more damage to everybody around them, and not just to you, but to everyone around you. And you have to be very cautious of that individual. If you and I don't put more emphasis in the thought process of using words, we're going to continue to do more damage. Look at this political situation that we have in the United States today. There's nothing positive going on. None of us see anything positive going on. All that we see is people fighting and calling each other names, calling each other races, calling each other all kinds of different names. But we see no one out there saying, okay, listen, this is where we need to be. And the thought process is filled with words of hope, filled with words of planning, filled with words of organization, filled with words of hope and love for this nation. No, we don't see that. Instead, we see individuals fighting head on with words. We see words every single day. We see the media using hate words. We see the politicians using hate words. We see the political followers using hate words. It continues on every single day because you and I are not focusing on the words that we need to be saying. Instead, our politics become corrupted with hate. And I believe in God, and I honestly believe that the good old devil out there, he loves this. He loves that you're saying the wrong words. He wants you to say those wrong words. He wants you to go out there and spread hate. He wants you to go out there and use the word racism when there's no racism going on. He wants you to use those words because racism is a word of hate. That's his whole motive. He sits back and he loves all this. He doesn't even have to do it because human beings are so weak that they don't even focus on what they're doing. They just go out and they say it and they do it and they create harm. I think he's sitting back and he just laughs and he says, my God, this is an easy job. These human beings, they love hate. If I can just say one word, I tell you what, I'll go over to this politician. I'll have him say a whole bunch of words. And then, you know what? There's going to be a lot more hate. And I will be so happy. The devil's sitting there. Just beaten his drum of hate, just beating it, and everyone's just dancing to it, and everyone gets involved in it, and pretty soon we're all using hateful words. We're all calling each other racist, and we don't even know what racism truly is anymore because it's become a political-driven tool by politicians. I tell you, we human beings, we're fools, aren't we? I believe that a foolish individual is that individual who goes out and creates more hate through words. If they're in a relationship and they're tossing hateful words at the other individual, guess what? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing good is going to become of that. I tell you, the devil's happy. He's sitting there and he's just sitting back smoking his big old cigar. Probably a cheap cigar too. But he's sitting there smoking his big old cigar saying, I have a wonderful job. These people are so filled with hate that they don't even know how to control it. And I've created all these words for them to use, and they're out there using it. Gosh, I am a good devil. That's what he's saying. And he is saying that, and God's looking down, and he's seeing all of this destruction that you and I are causing through our words, and he is sad, and he is upset because we have not learned anything about love that he has talked about. Instead, I think that individuals have gone through and taken Bible verses to use against other individuals in the theme of hate. Not in the theme of trying to help that individual, but instead to use it against individuals. You see, the Bible can be twisted and turned around also, and it's done every single day. The problem is that we are so dumb that we fall for it. Because I think that the human race has become followers and not independent thinkers anymore. Listen, there's hate in Christianity. There's hate in Islam. There's hate in Judaism. There's hate almost in every religion out there. So you have to weed through all that hate and finally get to what the total message is of love and helping other people. But instead, we're in there we see somebody we don't like, so we're in there trying to find verses in the Quran or in the Bible that can attack that other individual. Instead of attacking, show love. Instead of throwing a word of anger or a verse of anger, throw love. I tell you, we as individuals don't focus on the words that we're using because our words usually turns into some type of negative action if we're using hateful words. I've always practiced this for so very many years now on the 25 words or less. And to really think about those 25 words or less before I write them or before I speak them. Because if we go too much further, if we don't take our thought process and focus on what needs to be said and done in a civilized way, if we go past too many words and we start creating books of words to send to the other individual, within those whole group of big paragraph filled with words comes anger and comes hate and comes everything else and comes finger pointing, becomes everything. Instead of taking the issue that needs to be addressed and focusing on it, and focusing your words on it in a civil manner, instead you go hog wild crazy and write a whole book. And then when people say that's too much, and you come back and call them a name. And then it goes from there. And it becomes worse, and it becomes more devilish, it becomes more evil, it becomes more unsophisticated. Remember, that's what my mom used to always say. Don't act that way. Act sophisticated. I don't think it ever worked. Because I am what I am today. But I still remember that word, and I still remember the meaning of that word. If you look in the dictionary, or just Google it, take the word hate, just say, Google, tell me the name hate. And it will give you a long list of words of hate. And we're using those words every single day in our language. Because you and I are not focusing on words of love, words of understanding, words of conciliation, words of trying to resolve things. Instead, we want to get back at that individual, so we use the words of hate and we get nowhere. And we look worse for it. Because now we look like an evil idiot. I have been an evil idiot many times. I will say it now in this meeting with you all. Hello, I was an evil idiot. And I was. And sometimes I still am, because sometimes we goof up. But I have to go back to that individual and I have to say, okay, listen, I just said something that I should not have said. And I really want you to understand what I really was in my heart. And I really apologize for what I just said. But I want you to understand what I was really trying to say. Lashing out is happening every single day. Because we human beings, we really know how to lash out. We are the most professional lasher-outers ever. Because we love getting back at people. But instead of taking just a little bit of time before you lash out, saying, okay, how can I tell them in so many words that will be meaningful to the other individual so that they understand my position or they understand the issue that we need to resolve? How do I do that? And why am I not doing that? We are a people of words. Everything that we do, we text, we email, we Twitter, we Facebook, we do all kinds of, we send big long emails. Shorten up your communication so that it's more focused, that it's more thoughtful, that it's more civil, that the words will literally get you to that next step where you need to be. Where you need to be. And let's do something that's good for a change. Let's do something that you and I can benefit from. That we can work together for. Listen, if we choose our words better, you and I, we can accomplish so much more. One of the things that I have to do in mediation is I always have to give a lecture on communication and how we're going to communicate and how we are going to avoid bad communication that's going to create so much stress that it does not, so that we do not affect the children that we are involved with. Everybody around you can tell when you are angry. Everybody around you can tell when you are evil, okay? And they don't like it. They hate it. Some kids even have to go into counseling because of the way that you're acting. And let me tell you, it takes two to tango. So if there are two of you acting like little children, creating stress on your tiny ones, what kind of an individual are you? Focus on your words. Focus on how you deal with individuals. Focus on words that can get something out of the deal, out of the negotiation, out of the communication process. Even the words that you use in church, please be careful because God's listening. Well, God's listening to us all the time, but once you enter church and you start using hateful words, I always think of the time when God went to the synagogue and he was standing there and he saw everybody just acting so mean and selfishly, and they were selling stuff there at the synagogue, and they were doing business transactions, and they were doing all the stuff that God did not want to happen in church. So what he started to do, he started turning over tables, money flying all over the place, goods flying all over the place. But the lesson there was, this is God's house. Focus on your words. Focus on your actions when you're in God's house. Well, we have houses of our own, and God is sending us the same message. Be careful of how you're communicating in your homes. Be careful how you're communicating in your offices. Be careful how you're communicating on the streets. What good are you doing with your words? That's going to be the question. When you go to meet God, He's going to say, what were the good words that you used to create a better life for somebody else? And if you are the kind of person who has just been generating meanness and evilness and bad words and calling people names throughout your life, you're going to have a lot of answering to do. And you may not like the answer that comes back to you. Let's focus on our words. This week, let's focus on our words. Hey, the other thing that I did today is I sent out a blog, and I said, turn off your social media today. Just for one day. On this Sunday, just turn them all off. Focus on you. Focus on going out and having a cup of coffee with a friend. Pick up a good book. Go to a good movie. Have a good conversation with a relative or a friend. Go bring some flowers to someone. Go do something. Go get a massage. Go do something that is for you. Forget about all this social media, because the social media is what drives the hate. Literally, it just drives more and more hate. So turn it all off. The off button is the one that says OFF. Or sometimes it's just a little button that you just push and everything goes off, right? Find that button and turn off social media and turn off hate for one day. Have a vacation for one day and be blessed. If you can turn off hate for one day, you will be blessed. I guarantee it. Focus. Focus on your words. Focus on your actions. Focus on those around you. Focus on resolving issues peacefully, confidentially, and lovingly. Listen, if you like the content on my podcast, I ask that you go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that's buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. If you want to send me a text on business or anything, just send me a text. If you want to make a comment, it's 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. I love hearing from you guys, so send me some emails. No, I mean text. Send me some text. I love them. This is Mike Lodge. Everybody go out. Remember only one word today. Love. Bye-bye. This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. God bless. Love you all.